bear with it. We start with this. One of the things I do at Oracle is I look after the strategy for the UK, Ireland and Israel. And I look more at what's happening in the world today. And the previous presentation was fantastic because one of the things that we're going through at the moment is a massive cultural shift. If you want a really good book that articulates this, it's called, by a dear friend of mine called Ada McCormack, it's called Biz 4.0. Now the reason I relate to that is he talks about the industrialization era that we're leaving and talks about the creativity era that we're joining. If you look back at history, the most important people at the beginning of time were the creators. Now, everybody in this room, you have the responsibility for looking after those creators through their education. We need them now more than we've ever needed them before. And the reason I show the Russell Reynolds digital pulse is this thing called digital disruption. Everybody talks about disruption in the world. Really, disruption is actually happening and is happening because of technology and the way technology is evolving. Everybody now can start a company for less than £100. They can go out to the world. They can become an enterprise overnight. You know, I say to people in the industry that actually your biggest competitor is the one you don't know. Now, the UK, if you're not aware, has got one of the biggest startup communities globally. Generally, it's San Francisco first, UK is second. Actually, London is second in its own right. And actually, today, about $190 billion of our great revenue for the whole UK comes through that startup. Now, the age group of those startups are generally early in career. Now, they're focusing on areas like this, and you can see financial services and healthcare will be the next disrupted industry. Previously, it was consumers, etc. A lot of this, we're moving from a culture where the keyboard is not the device of interaction. We're going to move from an industry where we're talking about deviceless society. If you look at a lot of the emerging technology, it's coming out and there's not a direct relationship back to a device. So what's that got to do with Bloodhound? Well, we need to start with a blank slide. And the reason I start with this blank slide is many years ago, before I joined Oracle, I sat at a conference like this. I managed IT in Farnborough College of Technology. I looked after all the back-end systems, the student systems. It's nice to know the heritage problems that I probably caused are still there, and I apologise for that. But the one thing I did learn is you had to handle an amazing amount of diversity in students, in every teacher and every lecturer I had to work with was different. Everyone had their uniqueness. I want to show a list of people here. Probably some of the most famous people in the world. Now, the great thing about these people here, the diversity group that I'm in, myself, they are in. Okay? Albert Einstein, like me, couldn't talk until he was 4 years old. I was slightly later, 6 years old. Picasso couldn't write properly. And our diversity group, none of these people could spell the word that we're in. We're dyslexic. I'm dyslexic. It was probably my biggest weakness as a child. Because what I had then, I felt, was something, I couldn't understand what was going on in schools. You know, I failed at school, it was fair to say, but I succeeded in university and colleges. I went to Farnborough Tech and I did a HND. The reason why is the teachers saw through that, because actually the world we need now is a diverse capability. Now, if you're not aware, dyslexics have got two traits. One, we jumble words up, which means that some people put us through the normal academia system, we fail. You know, spelling the word the is really hard for me. But give me complex problems, it's like a walk in the park. Because generally our mind, the way our mind thinks, we handle complexity. Why do I say that? Because when we look at the world we have today, we think that is the most valuable resource, one of them, diamonds, etc. That will not be finding the next human planet. That will not be inventing the new iPhone. That will not be sorting out cancer. It's the students that you are teaching that will be, the next generation. And actually, if you go into Bloodhound's own workshop just down the road in Bristol, you'll see inspiring the next generation. Yes, they're trying to achieve 1,000 miles an hour with a car, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But actually, inspiring that next generation. And that's why I'm very passionate about this project personally. I was the sponsor for it in the UK, and it's hard work to make a big corporate customer, and you know Oracle well, we're a commercial company. It's hard to make the company change its way, the culture change its way. But I've had amazing support from Oracle because actually as an employer, they saw through the lack of education I had and saw the capability I brought. So I run a team of very inspired individuals as part of my second day job. My primary day job is I look after the strategy for the UK. Actually, the way we need to think future is STEM is the new gold. If you look at certain key influences in our world today, if you take Hawkins, for example, Professor Hawkins said that the world will run out of natural resources in 1,000 years, and then last year he corrected it and made it 100 years. We need to find and explore new planet. It's going to be the science, the technologists, and the mathematicians that find this, but they don't have to be brilliant at what they do. They just got to have diverse capability. So we took a decision to really invest in this. So here is Bloodhound. How many people know about Bloodhound? Probably quite a few, yeah. It's just built down in Avonmouth. They've currently moved down into Newquay because they're going to do a low-speed run at 200 miles an hour. Everything you see in these slides is going to be available at Newquay. When we started this, I saw Richard Noble present, and he talked about this, about 800 miles an hour and 1,000 miles an hour. And I was explaining to Charlotte, my 11-year-old, what that meant. She had no reality to that. She's the new digital era. And I said, it's faster than a speeding bullet. You can't see a bullet, Dad. You're not going to see the car. It's pointless. And I said, okay, I get it, but you've got to understand that's quite cool. Now, she wasn't interested. She went, I'm going back to Minecraft. Thanks, Dad. Then I stopped and I said, how about this? Would you like to sit in there and actually experience that car at 1,000 miles an hour at the same time Andy Green does? Who's Andy Green? I said, don't worry about that. We're not going to go there. Would you like to sit in there? Well, I can't. I said, but would you love to? Would you love to have virtual reality around that car? Would you like to have augmented reality? Would you like to use that deviceless society that is going to come and explore it here? Is it an extension to Minecraft? Okay, I'll come back in a few years' time. So, but the important point here is that we're trying to give digital diversity and digital skills through, yes, cloud technology. And the previous presenter was fantastic because, I hate to say it, is wire, cables and machines. There is none of this beautified stuff you just log in and it goes. You can, but there is that wire and power. Now, so we know that the team will achieve this. And they struggle. They do work in a very big shed in Bristol, but it's a very inspiring set of individuals that are creating this. Now, here is probably one of the most famous people on the planet. I nearly called him Lance Armstrong once. It's Neil Armstrong. And he said, imagine what if we provided the moon lander data, the moon landing data now for students, what that would do. They'd still be using it and consuming it and exploring with it because it's a once-in-a-time period experience. When Andy there, Mr. Green, who's about 6'9" from that picture, actually breaks that land speed record again, that data is going to be provided to all students at no cost. All of it, yes, will be provided through the Oracle Cloud. Yes, it will be based on infrastructure as a service. That's probably not relevant for this. But we don't want the students to have to worry about how to consume it. And the way the students will consume it will be using the newest technology. The dream of the Oracle and Bloodhound team is that actually the STEM commitment that we're going to make as part of this program, that actually students phone up the team from a Lancashire University campus and say, by the way, what you're just about to do is going to fail. If you do this, it's going to work. That would be a fantastic outcome from it. And actually, one of the biggest sponsors of the program was probably one of the most famous people on the planet. So, you know, for me, it's a really inspiring set of individuals that are working there. We set quite aggressive goals for our little team. And the team we have on it are from interns to experience. I have 9 interns and graduates that join each year into my group. This is their project. This is their solution. This is their goal, not my goal. First of all, we have to do everything in 2 months, everything at speed. So we're doing the development. Everything you're going to see in the later slides has just been completed because our annual conference is at Open World. This weekend, I fly tonight, or tomorrow morning, is going to be there. Everything has to be publicly available. Everything must be available to students, and students must have to interact with it. And also, all the data, the raw data from the car has to be available. The other thing you'll notice is everything has to relate to the real world of the customer. because we want to inspire a generation that are going to fix the problems we need fixing. So all of this is happening. The important point is that we're not alone in this, because we're using some of the latest technology to provide to students. So an example would be, we're using a chatbot. The chatbot, the student can interact with to find interesting information, but at the same time, they're going to be interacting and reading at the same time, because my children use YouTube to learn. My children use Facebook Messenger, Snapchat. So I'm integrating, the team are integrating all of our data and our visual aids through the channels they use, because that's the channels. Go to where the consumer is, don't go to where they're not. So we're using the latest technology. So it's really important that we did that. Data visualization, we're blending data, and I'll show you some screenshots in a minute. Also, we're using augmented reality from mobile phones. We're using virtual reality, and we'll talk a bit about that as well. But the other thing I'm very proud about is we created an Oracle Bloodhound Digital Ambassador Program. Now, all of you, the universities and colleges and schools, we've trained already 28 last week. We're training another 28 in a few weeks. Because when I met with the DFE, one of their requirements was get these experts in the industry to come into schools and universities and help our own teachers go on that digital transition. So our commitment is these students, our own interns and our own staff are being trained. They will be available to go to any of your universities, colleges or schools, and you just have to literally ask Oracle and we will turn up and we'll talk about what we're doing as part of this program. All of this has been achieved in less than 6 weeks, because the modern era and the modern business, they think it is that SaaS solution. Just buy it, click, you're in, done. So we've sort of aligned to that world. So it's very exciting for us, because in Newquay at the end of this month, that car will be going down that track. The car has 550 sensors on it, and it actually has 1,000 transactions per second. I have to relate it to the... If I'll put that into context, a typical customer from Oracle will have probably less than 30 transactions per second. This car will throw out 26 megabytes of data every second, and from the 55 seconds it runs. So it runs from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour in 55 seconds. We get 2 gigabytes of data. Now that's quite impressive. But we also, everything that we're using in the car, a student can obtain from the high street. We're using Raspberry Pi. We've put it onto a chipboard. We're using things like just cameras you can get from Maplins and any other known retailer. I've got to say that because of some commercial branding. I got told off the other day because I gave out who the camera vendor was. We had to buy it, so our interns bought it because they are more knowledgeable of this. So we told them, go out, here's some, and we kept a budget less than £400 because we want to make it real world. We don't want to make it this big Oracle dinosaur that you all probably talked to. I got worried when the red apple got mentioned. I was a bit worried when it was red. But we're trying to do this because we're trying to inject change of culture in Oracle as well as in our customers, and show that we're willing to commit back to the world. So that's what we've done. So shall I show you what we've been up to? So week 1, we put some cameras into the car. This is a 360-degree camera that spins. This data will be recorded at Newquay. What will happen here, it will be stored in the infrastructure as a service. So we're high streaming it through 4G cards into a repository. The goal there is that a student could put a VR headset on. They could literally be next to Andy Green. They could look out the window. They could see it going down the runway. And the data will be coming on. It's a bit like Iron Man. So you have data coming down one side and then you have that. So that's one of the images that we have. That will be available in Newquay. And that screen there is one of the shots that we took, one of the stills that we took. The next one is really cool. I've got this on my phone if you wanted to have a look at it. So this is augmented reality. Now this one's really important for the world we're moving to. We've already got a customer that's asked us about this. This is where we overlay the data real time. You can zoom in, you can see the car going down the runway, you can do it on your various internet browsers, etc. What's that got to do with the real world that we're moving to? Well, one of our customers said, if you can do that, you must be able to do something else for us. So they look after pipelines. So you imagine the road out there in the Bristol High Street. The most annoying thing on the planet is when someone sticks up an emergency sign to fix a water pipe, and then someone, and I don't know if you know the way it works, but because of health and safety, there's at least 6 people that have to be involved in digging that road up. The person who digs the road, the person that looks at the pipe to say that's the one to be fixed, the person that fixed the pipe, the person that says that is now fixed, and then the person that comes along and puts the road top back on. That's the world we live in today. And that will take about 3 weeks. Yeah? In this world, what we're saying is they turn up with their mobile phone, they look on there, they see the pipeline, it's augmented reality, they've got the manual for how they fix it here, and all the health and safety checks, and they just get on and do it. That's a different world that we're going to be moving into. But that's the relationship of that technology to the real world. Everything we're doing relates to the real world, because we want the students to be capable to offer back to industry immediately. The other one we're doing here is here's the Raspberry Pi. There's 550 sensors. We're using IoT, data and AI. So one of the things we've done is we've loaded up the carbon fluid dynamic model that UE did just down the road here. And then we're going to take that model and overlay the real data to see how the variance of change is happening as it gets faster. Because the only annoying part of Bloodhound, no one's actually done 1,000 miles an hour on land, which means we have to look for that deviation. When that car does break the sound barrier, you'll hear the shock wave 26 miles away. It'll probably blow a light 26 miles away. The track itself that it goes down is 12 miles long, and it'll cover it in 55 seconds. And it will stop in 1 3/4 minutes. So it will literally start and stop 1 3/4 minutes. You'll feel the shock wave 26 miles away, and it's been done in South Africa. And if you've seen Richard Noble present, you'll hear the great, wonderful story about what that's done for the region. We've also got this. This is something that the interns came up with. So this wasn't us, this is their idea. On the tail fin, this tail fin is about 8 by 10 feet wide. It's a big tail fin. You could sponsor online and put your name in, pay £26 I think it is, and your name will be written on that tail fin. So the intern said, well, how do you find that name? And we said, don't know, you say it's on there. So they came up with this app, there's a camera that's on it. And what you do is you type in your name and the camera will find your name on the tail fin and then give a zoom in of it so you can prove your name's on there. Now we didn't come up with that innovation. That was the graduates and interns in our own group that came up with that. The benefit to Oracle of this has been amazing because I said, that's really cool. How simple was it? They did it. The other thing that they've done with our more experienced developers is this is a data mashup. So we've overlaid, I don't know if you know, but all the government entities have to provide data at no cost. So there's APIs, open data, Ordnance Survey, Met Office, etc. have to provide open APIs to data. So we've integrated, using one of our data visualization solutions, that's the spatial data coming from Nuki Runway, where it's going to be done. That's overlaid directly from Ordnance Survey's APIs. Here, we've got weather data and we've got actual car data. So we're doing data mashups. So students can play with data and actually mash it up and actually come up with their own innovation. So all of this is done. All of this was achieved in 6 weeks by our little, very inspired team. They have been working long hours. I'm not saying we rock up at 10, we're done by 5, it's all good. They found lots of things that have been challenging, like they've had to put Raspberry Pi into jelly to stop it making a load of things and falling apart. But they've come up with the ideas. And the nice thing about this, as being the boss of this team, is I haven't got to push them to do it. They want to do it. So I'm not sure what you're expecting from the Oracle folk today. Hopefully that's different from a product pitch. Because what I really want to say to you is, as Oracle, we're going through huge culture change. And actually in this new era that we're joining, we've got to re-image ourselves. Now this is one route that we're going to do it. So if any of you are interested in this, there's a stand out there and they've got a little competition, go and have a chat with them. We'd love to come to any universities and have a conversation with you about what we can do and give you this technology and inspire your students to be the next people we need in industry. So, I think I'm done, a couple minutes early. There we go. Thank you very much. I don't know if you want any questions.
Yeah.
I think we've got a couple of minutes. Anybody got any questions? Fire away.
Yeah, right at the beginning you talked about what a strength it was to have a very diverse
Yes.
workforce. Sorry, yeah. You talked about what a strength it was to have a very diverse workforce, perhaps people who don't have some of the traditional things you're looking for, and yet we're all in the business nowadays of having very standardised job descriptions.
Yeah.
Do those two things work against each other?
I think the problem is it's like measuring capability you need and the capability you have. You know, if I'd have gone through a classical graduate program, I wouldn't be at Oracle now, because I'm not a graduate. Yeah? The one thing people don't know about Oracle is because of that machine that is the big red engine, it looks for the answer it needs, and it sort of supersonically goes to the answer. So I was lucky that because of my background, I'm quite good at maths, but I was rubbish at school. So I did artificial intelligence and voice recognition in '89. I was doing it for Farnborough Tech, and SmithKline Bleach, and at the time I was doing some research for them, and Oracle won a bit of business, and they went, who's the guy who knows this stuff? This guy does this, headhunt him, poof, straight to me. So the job spec didn't really come into it. They just went to me as the answer. They didn't care about my background. They just won a contract, we better get him in the company. It took them 3 years, from '89 to '93, and then I succumbed, and then I joined the Big O, and I've been there ever since. I think it's about don't spend too much time doing it, because I think most people in an interview know in about 30 seconds if you know that individual, I like them. Human nature is never going to change. I think it's 8 seconds or 12 seconds you make the decision, and they haven't generally opened their mouth at that point. I don't know if that helped.
Have we got any more questions?
Anybody else? Or you wanting to go to lunch? You want to go to lunch? Okay.
John,
Thank you
I'd
very
just
much.
like to say that was absolutely fascinating, thank you.
Brilliant.
And brilliant to see how Oracle have been actually using some of the things that Phil talked to us from Gartner earlier in the day, actually real life. So
Brilliant.
yeah,
Thank you.
really brilliant.
Have a great
Thank
conference.
you very much.
Thank you.